Um, so, Dan, you mentioned that the script has been revised. Obviously, the tech is better. We have better cameras. Our AV crew is only multiplying their abilities and talents. So, of course, re-recording all the stuff made sense in terms that we can create a better product. However, there has also been some changes to the content of Hyasode. Not big, gigantic, sweeping, we made a mistake changes necessarily, but there's been a shift in emphasis that I noticed when I was going through it and that I really appreciated. And maybe, Dan, since you did this rewrite, you can tell us what's new in this edition of Hyasode.
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, there's definitely a shift in emphasis. You picked that up, that's for sure. So the original version of Hyasode and even the second version of Hyasode, the emphasis was really on the Torah, with the idea that the big discovery, and you could sum up the whole ministry of First Fruits of Zion at that time with maybe the phrase, hey, the Torah isn't done away with. Jesus didn't come to cancel the law. Matthew 5:17, right? And then we just we're camping on that verse, and it was a very exciting idea. This was a huge discovery for us. We had a book at one time called Torah Rediscovered, and that really was the emphasis. That was the thrust, and that was a necessary first step for sure. But what we were not really factoring in was that in addition to the Torah not being done away with, in addition to the Torah not being canceled, you know what else isn't canceled? You know what else wasn't scrapped by the New Testament? The Jewish people. And so this is what I feel like was really missing from earlier iterations of Hyasode, earlier versions of Hyasode, that begin the discussion with the Torah is the wrong place to begin the discussion. You need to begin the discussion with the people of God. The whole course is supposed to be about the land, the people, and the scriptures of Israel, right? The land, the people, and the scriptures of Israel. These are the foundations that the whole Bible stands on. That's the theory of the course. But we were kind of giving the people of Israel short shrift in previous versions. So this version, for example, starts out strong with, who are the people of Israel? Who are the people of God? Who are the Jewish people? And really trying to wrestle around with that and come to an understanding of that. And then their relationship to the other two foundations, the land of Israel and the scriptures of Israel. And that from there, then we can begin to build, and we can take on a lot of what really are fundamental questions that should be absolutely basic, such as, well, what is salvation? What is faith? What does faith mean? What is grace? We talk about grace versus law. Okay, well, what is grace exactly? And how's that understood? There's an answer you may have heard in the church, but there's also an answer that comes right out of the Hebrew scriptures of what grace means. And so we just go through all these very simple, very basic ideas and really lay out, here's the terminology, here's the depth. What is discipleship? What does it mean to be a disciple? Or we come to Paul and we say, what does Paul mean by under the law? By defining this terminology, this gives us a whole toolkit for opening the Bible and being able to read it for ourselves with a Jewish understanding. So that's what really the rewrite was focusing on. And then, of course, finally, the big change in emphasis for us at First Fruits of Zion has been to adopt what we call a kingdom perspective. And that is the understanding that the gospel message that Yeshua taught was about the coming kingdom of heaven. He's focused on the coming kingdom of heaven. He's not focused on putting up a mezuzah on your doorpost. He's not focused on some of these ancillary matters of basic Torah observance. They should go without saying. They certainly did go without saying in the life of Yeshua and in the Gospels. They should go without saying. Instead, his focus is on the coming eschatological judgment, the coming of the kingdom, the end of exile, the final redemption, the establishment of Jerusalem. And so we're shifting the focus to that anticipation of the coming kingdom. So that's my summary of the new Hayesod. Hop on board.
Nice. I think that putting the Jewish people first, I like it for a lot of reasons. One reason I like it is because I think in the first century, when you have Gentiles having some contact with any revelation of of the God of Israel whatsoever, what's their first exposure going to be? It's not that they went to Books A Million and picked out a Bible off the shelf or went to church or something like that. It's going to be that they met a Jewish person. Their first encounter with the God of Israel is going to be mediated through a real live Jewish person. So to put the Jewish people first as far as recontextualizing the Bible and the New Testament is only to put ourselves into the shoes of an early disciple, I think, in a certain way. I also like it because in the Bible, the Jewish people come before the Bible. Like you have the God's covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and then it's hundreds and hundreds of years later, you have the Torah given to Moses on Mount Sinai. So there's like an ontological priority. There's like the Jewish people were around for a long time before the Torah, and the existence of a relationship between God and Israel is the context for the giving of the Torah in the first place.
Exactly. That's well said. We don't have a Bible outside of the Jewish people. The Jewish people are the vector through which the scriptures have come to us. Okay, so it's not as if the Bible just like dropped from heaven, boom, here's a big book that God drops into the hands of human beings. Instead, everything comes through Israel. And this is made explicit by Paul. He says, to them were given the oracles of God.
So let's go to Aaron, because you went and taught through all this material. And your excitement about it and your passion for it is evident in your teaching. And I've really enjoyed listening to you go through it. What are you really hoping to see disciples of Yeshua take away from Hayesod? Like, what are some of the most important, let's say even like practical changes you would hope to see after someone graduates from Hayesod? What's going to look different in their life?
Well, first let me clarify what I do not hope to see, and that is, we're not telling Christians to become Jews, but what it will do is it's going to strengthen your faith in God's promises, and it's going to ignite a passion for learning the scriptures. I think a very practical effect is you're going to open up the Bible and it's going to mean new things to you, and it's going to inspire you to keep on coming back to it. My hope is that it's going to inspire people to really take up Yeshua's calling of discipleship, to be more like him, to feel like there's a reason for why we should, be good people in this world, to feel that mission in a greater context. And I would like them to feel a stronger connection to the Jewish people also, and to the land of Israel. Who knows, maybe take a trip to the land of Israel. And, you mentioned, as we know, that there are a lot of Gentiles hearing the Hayesod that are going to be students in our Hayesod class. But I also know that there are many Jewish people in Christian churches as well. And I hope it's going to awaken in them some sense of desire to reconnect to their Jewish identity.
Yeah, and I think that's worth mentioning. We are not trying to get Christians to live Jewish lives, but we are very happy to see Jewish people live Jewish lives. And a lot of times, if they've been in the church, especially for more than like a generation, they haven't been encouraged to, and they've probably been heavily discouraged from doing anything that looks Jewish. Maybe you can explain why we'd be against that.
Sure. Well, the Bible is all about covenants. God made lots of covenants throughout the Bible. He made a covenant with the Jewish people at Mount Sinai, and he gave them laws to observe, and he says that they should be perpetual. They should be for all your generations. And those covenants and that calling is only reinforced in the New Testament. When Paul went around telling Gentiles, hey, you know what? You don't need to convert and become a Jew in order to be included in the people of God. He, at the same time, was reinforcing that the Jewish people are a part of this chosen nation, and they have responsibilities to God as a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. So it's appropriate for a Jewish person to take on the mantle of really being that priestly role among nations, to reveal godliness to the world through the Torah. And it doesn't go well with the replacement theology that says there really is no difference between Jews and Gentiles anymore in terms of calling. And in terms of, back to the idea of the practical application for Gentiles, when I say we don't want Gentiles to become Jews, that doesn't mean we wouldn't like Gentiles to conform their lives to the Torah, because the Torah has concepts in it that apply both to Jews and to Gentiles. There just are ways that Gentiles can approach the Torah that reflects them receiving that revelation from the Jewish people and their holiness as Gentiles as well.
Yeah, this is another, you bring up a good point. That's another of the things that makes this version of Hayesod new and improved and better than previous versions, is that in previous versions, we didn't really understand distinction theology. That is, we didn't really understand the difference between the role of a Jewish disciple, the role of a Gentile disciple in the body of Messiah. And, having come around that corner and saying, wow, there really is a place for the Jewish people to continue as Jewish people living out their covenant obligations. And there really is a place for the nations to attach to the God of Israel and to attach themselves to the Jewish religion in an appropriate manner as the nations, without usurping the role, without cultural misappropriation taking place. And so that's something new for this version of Hayesod that I think comes through very loud and clear, and it's in quite a beautiful way. And I think people will find it inspiring.
Yeah, and I think we want to come against the impression that a lot of people have that Gentile is a disparaging term, that you're either in the people of God or you're not. And then we use a term that's really kind of an outsider term, like Gentile. It sounds like we're excluding someone from the picture. And that's really not what that term is. You said you used actually the term nations as well. It's really not about being excluded. It's about how we all participate together. Paul used this terminology of the parts of the body. We all are parts of a body. And to understand what is our part, how we contribute to the whole, is really essential for having a healthy body. I always love to go back to the metaphor of a grocery store. You've got people who work there, you have people that shop there. They're all part of a whole system, and you don't have to feel jealous of one another. We're all in this together and doing the business of the kingdom.
Yeah, some of that is baked into the language. The term Gentile doesn't necessarily sound like a great identity. It doesn't sound like a flattering identity. The term non-Jew is just awful. I don't like to think of myself as a non-Jew. I wouldn't want to own the title non-Jew any more than I would refer to myself as a non-woman. But I do have a solid identity as a member of the nations. I'm a part of the nations. And that's what Paul was all excited about. So we try to bring that out in this version of Hayesod to really show the enthusiasm of the Apostle Paul, that the gospel was going forth. It was breaking out of the chrysalis of Israel and going out to the nations, taking over the entire world. That's what Messiah is supposed to do. The Messiah his kingdom is supposed to be a universal kingdom, that he's supposed to be ruling the whole world, coming under the economy of the house of David. So yeah, I hope that comes through. I know that some people feel like, oh, First Fruits of Zion, they're telling me not to be Torah observant. That's not the case at all. There's tons of Torah observance for the nations. Some of the biggest things in the Torah: justice, righteousness, and mercy. These are universal things that apply to everyone equally.
Cool. Man, I feel convicted just hearing you talk about it.
Good. You should, Jacob. You should.
So we've been talking about Hayesod as if it's like a pill you take or something. Tell me, what is Hayesod as a physical object I can see or touch?
All right, that's a great question. We probably should let people know exactly what it is we're talking about. We said Hayesod means the foundation, but we didn't really explain what the course is. It is a study course. It's essentially a Bible study course, and this is the way it works. There's a video component. There's 10 video lessons that you watch online. You can get there at our website, ffoz.org. You go to our website and you can sign up to watch these 10 video lessons. And each lesson is about, 45, 50 minutes, something like that. And there you've got Aaron teaching, and he's leading you through the material as he's teaching these different concepts. And then every so often, we cut away to some other scene in the land of Israel. So Aaron's in Jerusalem, he's teaching in Jerusalem, and then we head out to some location in the land of Israel to teach out in the field on location with my colleague Boaz Michael and myself on location saying, hey, here we are standing in the Galilee, and let me tell you about what happened here. That's kind of the idea of the video component. And then meanwhile, students are following along. You get to follow along in a workbook and with fill in the blank questions and so forth to make sure you're paying attention and getting all the critical notes. That's the High Yesod course, 10 lessons, comes with a workbook. The whole thing can be done online, or you can do it in a group context. You could get a whole bunch of people together in your living room and get a dozen High Yesod student workbooks and watch the videos together as sort of a home Bible study or a Sunday school class environment. It works great for that. Lots of different applications. You can find it all. You learn all about it at ffoz.org.
I gotta say, those Israel segments are really beautiful. They're breathtaking. The scenery that you get to see and the connection that you feel, you really feel like you're there in the land, and it makes everything come alive so much more than just me being the talking head in the Brahm Center. It's really worth seeing because it will give you a whole different perspective on the Bible and on the land of Israel.
Yeah, that is one of the, I gotta say, that is one of the major upgrades from all previous versions of High Yesod, is the cinematography on this one. Not only have we moved up to high definition, but we've got some beautiful drone footage, sweeping panoramas. Yeah, so if you've never been to Israel, this is a cheap way to get a tour of the land of Israel. If you have been to Israel, you're gonna love seeing it from this perspective.
Nice. Now, I have gotten questions personally about the change in how you get into High Yesod. For people who have maybe done this before, we used to, if you wanted to do High Yesod, you had to go through like an interview process, and we really made you jump through hoops to be a leader. And if you wanted to be a student, you had to know a leader or convince someone to be a leader. And there was this whole formal structure that we sort of cocooned the program in, because we didn't want people taking our material and then like tacking stuff onto it, like, and also you should kill a real lamb on Passover if you can, or whatever, like just weird stuff. We didn't want all that to be associated with our material. Now, we have taken all of that walled garden sort of philosophy, and that's Torah Club now. High Yesod is much easier, right? How do you sign up for High Yesod now?
Right, so now, that's a funny way to put it. Yeah, we just gave up on that. So now you just go to the website, you pay for the course on the website, and boom, you're registered, you're a registered user, and you can access the videos, you own them. They stream to your computer, and you can watch them as often as you like, and that's it. Simple as that.
Yeah, and as far as we know, in our computers or whatever, there's no such thing as a High Yesod group. If you want to form a group, then you can all just sign up.
Yeah, do it yourself.
Fantastic. Makes it easier for us, and it's easy for you. It's easy for everybody. Just click the button, and you're in. All right, so I have a couple questions, maybe looking forward into the future. One is, I'm sure by the time this goes out, there's going to be people who are halfway through High Yesod, and they're already thinking, yeah, I love it, but what's the next thing I should do after this? Like, I'm on board, I like the Messianic Jewish perspective, but I feel like this was only the barest taste, and I want to get the full course meal. What's after High Yesod?
That's a great question, since we're saying High Yesod is the foundation, but you don't really stop with the foundation when you're building a house, right? I think what we're really hoping is that people who complete the High Yesod program will gravitate towards becoming a member of our Torah clubs. The Torah Club is our continual, ongoing weekly Bible study, national Bible study, international Bible study that's taking place. And in the Torah Club, we go through the Torah, through the 5 books of Moses, along with the annual cycle, the annual synagogue lectionary reading cycle. And we also get outside of that box once in a while and study the Gospels, or we've got coming up in a few years, we're going to be studying through Acts of the Apostles together. International Bible study, everybody all together, all on the same train. So that's what Torah Club is. So ideally, we would like to see High Yesod students commute over to Torah Club, and you can learn about Torah Club at ffoz.org.
Aaron, you wrote a series of articles, actually still ongoing, I believe, for Messiah Magazine about the kingdom. So I thought I'd give you a shot at this. We are looking, of course, to see individual disciples of Yeshua enrich their faith, enrich their devotion. But if we zoom out a little bit, let's say everybody took Hayasod, all the disciples of Jesus went out and finally reconnected with their biblical heritage, the land, the scriptures, the people of Israel. What kind of a change would you expect to see globally? Or how would this bring us closer to the kingdom that we all hope and long for?
Great question, and what an amazing thing that would be to see that it go that widespread. You look at the Bible, look at the prophet Isaiah and how he imagines the future. He speaks about how the Jewish people are called to be a light to the nations. And he talks about the nations coming up to experience Israel's light. And that's the kingdom. And in the kingdom, that's just what we will be. The Torah will go forth from Zion and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. That's everything in its proper place, the whole mechanism working the way it's supposed to, the mechanism of the revelation of God. But what's the world like right now? To what could it be compared? It's like what Yeshua said. It's as though the light of the Jewish people is under a basket. By and large, we're not the teachers of the nations that we're meant to be. So in a way, Hayesod goes about restoring that prophetic order. It's one step closer to the way things one day will really be, with the Messiah seated in Jerusalem and the nations inquiring from him about the Torah.
Come, let us go up. Let's go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Israel.
Amen.
All right, well, one last little challenge, I guess, for both of you. Neither of you are in the marketing department, but we're going to put your skills to the test. Sell our listeners Hayasod. Give me like an elevator pitch for Hayasod. And I guess we'll start with Aaron, because alphabetically he comes first.
Okay. Look, you want to understand the Bible better. You want to understand Yeshua better. You want to do a better job of connecting to God and to fulfill your role in this world, in this life. And the way to achieve that, to overcome the obstacles to that, which is the fact that it's hard to just pick up the Bible and understand what it means. The Bible is translated, yeah, but there are all kinds of cultural nuances and difficulties, challenges that, because we're distanced by thousands of years and thousands of miles, and by language barriers, cultural barriers. So the way to really become the disciple that God is calling you to be is to dig in and learn what the Bible is really teaching us. And Hayesod can help you with that. It's an easy way to know that you're getting really a solid foundation in your discipleship, and to open up new vistas of discipleship and walking in the path of God.
See if you can top that, Dan.
Here's why you want to study Hayesod, because a house that's built without a foundation, to what can this be likened? This is like the master's parable of the house that's built on the sand. The rain comes down, the wind blows, and that house falls with a big crash. And so what Hayesod offers you is a foundation for not just how you understand the Bible, but a foundation for your faith. Because we believe not just in God as an abstract principle, but we believe in the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And so we want to understand the people of Israel, the land of Israel, and the scriptures of Israel as followers of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And those should be foundational things that we bring to our faith, to our practice, and to our reading of the Bible. And so Hayesod is going to offer you a course in those foundations. So that sounds pretty critical. You build a house, you want to have a strong foundation.
So, I'm a seminary graduate. I have my undergrad, went to Liberty University and got whatever the bachelor's degree version of a seminary sort of material was. And I came into Hayesod and learned a lot. Hayesod gives you the tools to make sense of the Bible. And if you can't make sense of the Bible, everything else that you believe and do is going to be cattywampus, right? It's going to go in all different directions, and you're not even going to know it. I mean, and that idea terrifies me, and hopefully it terrifies you, to think that you could be putting so much effort in to pedal your bike and you're going in the wrong direction. Hayasod gives you the tools you need to actually understand what the Bible means, and it's not nearly as complicated as a lot of people have made it out to be once you have the tools, once you have the context, once you have the background. Personally, I think it should be required reading for every disciple, and I hope as many people sign up for it as possible. And invite your friends and your family and some people you don't know, and make your pastor go through it too. Go to ffoz.org and sign up for Hayasod today. It's fantastically easy. It's delivered right into your electronic device of your choice. You don't even have to buy a workbook, although you can if you want to. Thanks, Dan and Aaron, for being here, and thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in for today's Messiah podcast. If you're interested in learning more about the Jewish Jesus, check out First Fruits of Zion at ffoz.org. And if you enjoyed this episode, please give us a 5-star rating wherever you're listening. Messiah Podcast is made possible by the generosity of our First Fruits of Zion friends. FFOZ an exclusive Bible commentary.
Hey, thanks for joining, everybody. I'll see you again next week. We're gonna finish up the book club event on Wednesday too, so hopefully I'll see y'all then. Y'all have a good day. Bye.
Peace.